Memphis playing Philly, the Bulls playing the Jazz. We got a bet for you on both those games and the UConn Marquette game, plus NHL hockey. It's Wednesday. Adam Trigger, Ronald Cabang, Carmine Bianco, our guests. I'm Lawrence Prez and Teddy covers is my co-host. Welcome, everybody, to WagerTalk Today, the best daily sports betting show on the planet. Let's get to it. Adam Trigger right off the bat. Adam, nice to see you. Nice to have you. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing great, Prez. Nice 2-0 night last night for me in college basketball. So that's 9-3 in my last 12. 8-1 in my last 9 big plays. The 5 percenters have been great. And I've got another one that goes tonight. So that's up on my page now. And yeah, it's March. It's my favorite time of the year.
Excellent.
Certainly was last year. Adam went on a monster run through March last year in college hoops. Let's break down a marquee matchup before we get into some smaller conference stuff. And of course, we're talking marquee matchup. How about the number 1 team in the country, UConn and Marquette? Looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen, I'm seeing the Huskies -5 on the road, total 151/151.5. What do you want to do with this one? Wednesday night college hoops on FS1.
Yeah, Teddy, I was at the game on Sunday. As you can see, I got my UConn jacket on here. They certainly look like the best team in the country. I'll just quickly make a point about UConn. I went to Baylor Houston the week before, and that UConn team looked much better to me than Houston or Baylor did, just getting to see them play in person. I had them to win it all last year. I wouldn't be surprised if they repeated. But we're going to talk about this matchup here. And I'm gonna talk about the total because I do think that I actually think I would probably like Marquette here if they were at full strength, just given the spot and whatnot. But they're not. We know Tyler Kolek is out. We know that Iguodaro has been battling an illness and he might be out. So I'm going to look at the total. And something I've noticed just in the recently, Marquette games have just been flying over this number of 150. You look at their last 4 games: 164. 160, 152, 176. They've been going well over the 150 that you're going to have to play to get over tonight. The last Marquette game to not go over 150 was, of course, against UConn, the meeting at the XL Center, which is a tad deceiving because that was an 81-53 final, only hit 134, but there was a 70-point first half, and then UConn just kind of blew it open, and Marquette gave up a little bit. It was a very, you know how it gets in a blowout, right? Like a team's up 30, you're probably not going to get over. You're just not going to get that much pace, so on and so forth. Marquette 5 for 23 from 3-point range in that game and shot just 36.8% from the field. Now, the reason I kind of lean over here, Teddy, is I think the absence of Kolek is probably baked into both numbers. I would have probably made this closer to 3. So now 5.5 tells me that the Kolek injury is sort of into the line. But I also think it's keeping this total lower than it should be. And that's where I disagree. I think Kolek being out potentially makes this game a little bit faster. I think Shaka might think that he has to press here, to keep Marquette in the game, which would probably increase the number of possessions. Now, I did make a mention that I would have maybe looked to Marquette from a spot perspective. And the reason I say that is UConn last week, they were in a similar spot where they had to make a midweek trip out to Omaha and they lost the game to Creighton. And something I noticed from a totals perspective in that game is they just really weren't ready to play defensively. They gave up 43 points in the first half. Creighton kind of, got up big and never looked back. And so the press doesn't always work against UConn. But I think Shaka might try to catch them sleeping because that would be what the spot would potentially do. On Sunday, they clinched the Big East regular season title. It's their first regular season title in well over a decade. So if UConn's not ready to play here, they would have a hard time with Marquette's press, which would also speed the game up. So I didn't have enough confidence to go and take the points with no Kolek and 2 other guys potentially battling illness. But I could see there being plenty of points. There has been in Marquette games recently. So a lean here to over 151. I think we've got an entertaining game that's closer than the first matchup.
So certainly Marquette is a team that has cashed a fair few overs. UConn is a team that's been really elite defensively. I mean, the Creighton game, you mentioned it was an outlier. In fact, you can go back 13 games and the Creighton game that they played, really to January 10th. But the Creighton game's the only one where they gave up more than 67 points. The Huskies, what are they, top 10 defensively, top 5 defensively? I mean, this is an elite defensive team. And certainly in the first meeting, it wasn't like we saw Marquette able to solve that UConn defense. What makes you think they're going to be able to solve it tonight? Or is this just pace? And you think Smart's going to press and the pace is going to be there throughout?
Yeah, that's my angle here, Teddy. So I went to Marquette UConn at the XL Center last year, and it was a game where, like, Shaka tried to press for a little bit, and UConn just torched their press. They had no problem with it. That's the thing with UConn. They're good everywhere. They've got guards that can handle the ball, and they had no problem breaking the press. He had to get out of it. It was the way he tried to get back into that game, and he had to get out of it because UConn rattled off like 10 straight points. Because he doesn't have Kolek, I think he's going to press out of necessity here. But also, I mean, you mentioned the Creighton game being the outlier, but the spot is very similar where, they were kind of like making the midweek trip out to Omaha. It wasn't a super meaningful game. Like, this is arguably as meaningless of a game as UConn has had all season. They just clinched the Big East. I mean, they're probably a 1 seed regardless, unless they get bounced from early in the conference tournament. So, and when UConn maybe doesn't come to play, it's probably going to show up more on the defensive end than the offensive end. So that's why I kind of lean toward the over. But I think Shaka is going to go with the press because I don't think he thinks he can win without Kolek unless he forces a bunch of turnovers, which means he's going to have to press, create sort of the crazy havoc that he's been so much known for in his career, and that probably means there's a bunch of possessions in this game, which should get it up to, over 150, in my opinion.
Adam Trigger joining us, everyone. If you like what you're hearing, take a second out of your day and hit that like button, please. Teddy won his big game breakdown yesterday, so stay with us. It's coming up. He's now on a 7-0 run. Adam, let's move to your next game. Wagner, +5 versus Sacred Heart. Where are we going here?
Yeah, Prez, so this is conference tournament time now. This is the Northeast Conference Tournament. It is the quarterfinal round. Something important to note is that these games are played at campus sites, so this is a home game for Sacred Heart. And I think the books are at least I've noticed so far this week, they're really pricing up the home team in some of these campus site matchups. They're almost saying, okay, you the bettor, we know that they've got a home game, and they're going to make you pay a real tax to back the home team in a lot of cases here. And that's sort of how I feel that what's happening here with Sacred Heart. Now, the other reason that Sacred Heart's a pretty substantial favorite, it looks like 5.5, is their home road splits have been drastic this year. Sacred Heart's 11-4 at home. They're 4-11 on the road. At home, they've played some of the best ball of any team in this league. On the road, they have results like a loss to LIU, a loss to St. Francis, PA, two of the worst teams in college basketball and in this conference. This was a Sacred Heart team that I thought might win this league coming into this year. So I certainly think they have the potential to even win this conference tournament, which certainly feels like it's up there for grabs. But I come back to the number just being too big because Wagner still has talent. Like, this is a team that got just decimated by injury during the regular season. They're down to 7 or 8 scholarship players. They played the final stanza of their regular season with like 7 guys, went 1-4 to close the season. 2 of those losses were like right at the buzzer, like 1 possession losses, to 2 pretty good teams, one of them being the 1 seed, Central Connecticut State. But they still have talent on this team. They still play hard. They defend. Melvin Council Jr. is still one of the best players in the NEC, 15.3 points per game. And I just think that you go into the conference tournament where it's like win or go home. This is it. Season's over if you lose. And I think you get maybe like a little jolt for Wagner here. So I look at the team that went 1-4 down the stretch. Clearly tired legs played a part in that. But this team hasn't played since Saturday. And now there's no tomorrow. So, there's no reason to leave anything in the tank here, for Wagner. And I think because of that, you might get a big effort here. Now, Sacred Heart is a team that won both regular season meetings, so it's going to have to beat the same team 3 times. I just thought the number was too big. So Wagner plus 5.5 is a side I looked at in the NEC tournament tonight.
So, I mean, it's kind of been a one-sided series with Sacred Heart winning each of the last 4 meetings, covering each of the last 4 meetings. Are you worried at all that Sacred Heart's just the better of these 2 teams?
I do think Sacred Heart's a touch better. I guess I'd just be willing to play the number. I make this closer to 3. So if you're going to give me 5.5 or 6, I got to take my chances with Wagner. Again, I just think Wagner's they're tenacious enough to stay in this game, and I think they give Sacred Heart a game here.
Adam Trigger, everyone. Guys, just real quick, Teddy's big game breakdown is on Golden State and Milwaukee. He lectured me a whole bunch of times. It happens every day. You mentioned Brian's game, but not mine. This is a big matchup. Why are you talking about everyone else's game but mine? And on and on. So, Teddy, I humbly apologize. You are correct. We are going to start every show discussing Teddy's big game breakdown off the bat. Then we will talk about everything else. My humble and sincere apologies. Adam Trigger, what do you have to promote?
Yeah, so if you like these conference tournaments, I've got previews for probably 10 or 11 different tournaments. I've already started putting them on the WagerTalk YouTube channel. So check those out over there. Like and subscribe, of course, while you're over there. And I also have a 5% play tonight. I'm on an 8-1 run on 5% plays. I'm on a 9-3 run in college hoop overall. That's up on my page right now, wt.buzz/AT.
There we go. Adam Trigger, everyone. Thanks for joining us, my brother. So, I had a bad night again last night. I had a +3 dog in college basketball, North Florida, go into overtime. They were up by 2 with 9 seconds to go and pooched it, but they did push for me. I went 0-2 in NHL last night. First time I've lost 3 NHL games in a long, long time. But Teddy and I had a great phone call last night. Teddy, what did we learn in the wonderful world of sports betting?
I had a nightmare yesterday, a flat-out nightmare with that Nets Sixers game. I should have pulled the game, but I thought Philly would still be live. This is what happened, all right? Posted it. I've got all these quotes from the 76ers talking about how well they've been playing the first time since Embiid's been out. They're feeling good. Their chemistry on the floor. They've won back-to-back games. I got a lot of positive momentum for Philly, and that's something I look for. Brooklyn's on the second night of back-to-back. Brooklyn's no good. Brooklyn's got injury problems. Love the play. Absolutely loved it. Stood out the night before, stood out the morning of, and I played it. And then what happens? Well, what about maybe, I think it was while we were on the show, Tyrese Maxey. Philly's got 2 All-Stars, Embiid's out. We knew that. Tyrese Maxey wasn't on the injury report. He didn't leave the previous game for the concussion that he suffered, but all of a sudden Tyrese Maxey's ruled out. And then DeAndre Melton's ruled out, and then bang. And I still thought that Philly would be live. That's why I didn't pull the game, Prez. I thought that, and they were live. They led by double digits in the first half. They led by 8 in the fourth quarter. And then Kyle Lowry, how do I phrase this politely? Kyle Lowry, who played well, but he also pissed off Dennis Schroeder, and then Dennis Schroeder went nuts, and then Dennis Schroeder hit the game-winning shots down the stretch, and it was another loss. 4 straight with 5% big tickets, and 2 of them were excruciating. Last night's wasn't fun either. How bad was it for me? This is how bad it was. I called Prez to talk me off the ledge. That's how bad I felt last night. Just a miserable experience, Prez. Hopefully, it'll be in the rearview mirror quickly and not linger. That's what I learned last night. Thank you for talking me off the ledge.
Teddy, listen, all these people, they sit here, they think we argue. We do argue. But hey, man, you know I got your back. And the craziest thing about it is Teddy calls me last night on the phone, and it was literally 1 minute after I had said to Vivian, man, selling picks could be soul crushing. You know, I'm up in NHL on the season. I go lose 2 games, and I'm in a freaking state. Why? Because 90% of the clients buy us on a daily basis, and it's so hard to win on demand, and I feel horrific when I lose for my clients. I want to win every single day. Teddy feels exactly the same way. Teddy literally calls me and he's like, man, I had the right game and nothing went right. And this is 3 in a row and I am pissed and I'm winning everything else. And I won my big game breakdown and I won my free pick and I won my other play. I got to tell you guys, man, we try our best every day. We win long term, but man, even one bad day in the midst of a good run can just suck the soul right out of you. But what I said to Teddy and what I say to everybody is we're enjoying the journey and we do have it good. No matter how you slice it, we are not laborers. We are not lawyers working 14 hours a day, billing 100 hours a week, trying to get to partners. We love sports. We watch sports. We're certainly we're gifted to be doing what we're doing, and the process, the day-to-day of our lives is excellent, minus a few soul-crushing days along the way. So that's that. Back in the saddle tonight, Teddy. I have a 5-pack. Dude, I woke up this morning and I'm like, I'm sweeping today. Nobody's going to buy me today. Nobody. I guarantee it, bro. I had a ton of sales on Monday. I stunk. I had sales Tuesday. I stunk. Not one person will buy my plays today, and I'm going to go 5-0, and I'm okay with that. So I'm asking you guys, don't buy my plays today. Don't. I'm going to go 5-0 privately, and then we're going to celebrate tomorrow and start a nice, big, fat, juicy run. Ronald Cabang joining us. Ronald! Soul-crushing sometimes, am I right? You're young, Ronald. You're a young guy,
Yeah, I feel everything that you guys were saying. I mean, prior to yesterday, I was number 1 in NBA profit post All-Star break. Then, I was actually on the same game, Teddy, the Philly game there. I saw a lot of the same things that you mentioned, and they had a chance to win, but they gave it up towards the end of there. And then another game that I was on that ended up losing yesterday was Boston. They ended up on like a 17-34 run in the fourth quarter or something like that. So it was a tough day yesterday, but like you said, it's just one of those days that was soul crushing, and we just got to bounce back strong here.
Eddie?
So let's get into your two. And Ronald, just to be very clear, I wasn't dismissing your 2 games that you were talking about.
Oh, yeah, no,
but the marquee matchup on tonight's NBA card is Bucks Warriors. That's the game I'm doing a big game breakdown. I thought Prez might want to mention that in the open. It's like on Monday, he's talking about Brian's added board games instead of talking about, again, Baylor.
I sincerely apologized. My apology was sincere.
Okay, this is not about you cutting me off right now. This is about me finishing my thought and asking Ronald a question. And I'm not in the mood today. It's very clear. Everyone knows that Teddy's a little bit, today's not the day. Okay, so please let me finish my thought with Ronald, which I've already forgotten now, and we'll move on. But the point is this. It wasn't about promoting me or you or anyone else. It's about talking about what the biggest games that we're going to talk about on today's card to open the show. So that's what the thought process that I was trying to get into Lawrence's head.
You're right.
But yeah, okay. Let's talk a little NBA for tonight. We will talk Warriors Bucks, as I mentioned, in just a moment. But first, with Ronald Cabang, we're going to talk about a couple of games that are intriguing to this bettor. And of course, as I'm scrolling down, where's they at? I can't find them. Thanks, Lawrence.
Okay,
you
Ronald, let's
Hawks
talk
and then
Philly. The Philly game, Teddy.
Dude.
That goddamn Philadelphia 76ers.
This is why, okay? I'm clicking on stuff, and I clicked on WagerTalk last call, and I'm scrolling down instead of WagerTalk Today. They're right next to me. So I couldn't find the games I was looking for. Let's talk about those 76ers who I had so much fun with last night. What are they going to do tonight when they travel to Memphis?
Yeah, I'm looking at this Grizzlies team here. Obviously, they're coming off an outright win over the Nets. Overall, this season, they want, this is a season they want to forget. They're definitely one of those teams that had playoff aspirations and all that stuff coming into the season, and injuries happen and all that. But, from a spread perspective, they've actually been pretty profitable since mid to late January. 6-14 straight up in the last 20 games. But from a spread perspective, 13-7 against the spread, including 6-1 against the spread as road dogs in that span. From a season-long perspective, they've actually done well as road dogs all season long, not only just in the last 20 games, but, especially with what they've been working with, all the injuries that they're dealing with, the roster makeup that they have. I mean, they've done such a great job as far as being profitable in that aspect. 15-10 against the spread on the season as road dogs. And that also includes 3-1 ATS, 4-0 to the over if their opponent is unrested. So they do take advantage of tired legs there. Sixers, obviously coming off of the L yesterday that we just discussed. And that means, your second leg of back-to-back games. From a side perspective, nothing strong, right? But from the total perspective, 8-3 to the under in this spot. Their offense does tend to struggle on these second leg of back-to-back games. In general, they've really been struggling from a spread perspective since mid to late January. So pretty much the opposite of the Grizzlies, 8-13 straight up, 6-15 against the spread in their last 21. Also, without Maxey, 0-6 straight up. That's something that I didn't catch yesterday. After the fact, right? Like, I took the Sixers before I knew Maxey was out. Now he's out with a mild concussion. They've lost every game since, with him out by at least 5 points. And that also includes a 104-130 outright loss to the Blazers. And the Blazers were on the second leg of back-to-back games in that one. So that's one that they didn't cover. And I really don't expect him to be active today. From what I've seen, if you're diagnosed with a concussion, you cannot participate in activity for the day of and the following day. And that, my understanding is, he was diagnosed yesterday, so he should not be able to play today. So I'm kind of puzzled why they still have him as questionable. That's just sort of my thought process there as far as him potentially not playing today. But a lot of the signs to me are pointing towards the Grizzlies to cover the +6 here.
So JJJ is the guy I worry about with Memphis. I mean, for everything that they've done, I feel like a lot of that has been him as the guy on the floor who's making the plays in the fourth quarter, who's providing the leadership. It's a bunch of G Leaguers playing for Memphis. And when JJJ's on the floor, all of a sudden the offense works and the defense works. He's questionable tonight. Do you worry at all about his status? Is this a play with or without him in the lineup? Or is this only if he plays, or they'll take it either way?
I think so. I just pulled it up right now. How the Grizzlies done without Jaren Jackson, and they're actually just 4-4 against the spread here. So it's not a big difference. And the games that they're covering are on the road. Actually, they're 3-1 on the road without Jaren Jackson. 3-1 ATS on the road without Jaren Jackson. So, they actually beat these teams outright. The Mavericks and the Grizzlies without Jaren Jackson on the road. They covered against the Knicks. So. They did lose and failed to cover against the Celtics, but who's not losing to the Celtics? Well, I guess the Celtics lost yesterday, but for the most part, they've been doing a solid job there for the Celtics. And I think Grizzlies without Jaren Jackson, like I said, I think they have one of the best coaches in the league as far as being able to bring out the best in every single one of their players. And that's the reason why they've been sort of profitable here towards the second part of the season. From a spread perspective, they just bring out the best out of the players. Guys like Vince Williams and even guys like Kennard and all these what was that forward, that power forward that's sort of like the European guy. He's able to play great offense from both inside the paint and shoot the three ball as well. So I think they just have what it takes to be able to cover these types of games. And like I said, without both Embiid and Maxey, the Sixers are lost. They haven't won a game without Maxey in general. And, I think this is just another situation where they continue to struggle.
Ronald, let me tell you why you're wrong.
All right, go ahead.
And it's a simple handicap. You are wrong about Memphis tonight because you were wrong about Philadelphia last night. For some strange reason, You pick Philly on a Tuesday and they screw you. You go against them on a Wednesday. That's double penetration, bro. That is double penetration, no lube. So,
Oh man.
Teddy, you see it this way, right? I mean, it's like you bet on the Bills in week 3, they screw you. The next week you bet against them, they win by 40. Irony is the religion, the only religion in this world that I believe in. And it is actually a thing. So I think you're wrong, Ronald. Teddy?
Let's talk about the second game that you
real quick before we do, Teddy.
Okay, go, Ron.
Prez, I think the reason, I mean, if that's the case, then trends don't exist, right? Like, then that means
a trend.
It's going to be a zigzag the whole way.
That's a trend. The trend is if you bet on a team and they screw you, don't bet against them the next game. That's a trend.
Okay, now
so in the NFL, I'll agree with you 100%. In the NBA, less so. There are times you see something one night and you're like, no, this team's just priced in the wrong spot right here, and you can bet against them again. In the NFL, where at the end of the year, half the teams are 9-8 ATS or 8-9 ATS, is a little bit different. You know, because the value doesn't hold in the NFL the way that it does in the NBA. Let's move out to Salt Lake City. And this is a game that was on my short list, and I decided not to play it. I'll tell you why after you make your case. For Chicago, -3.5 at Utah, total 223.5. What do you want to do with the Bulls and the Jazz?
Yeah, I like the Bulls here. I like this spot here, mainly because of who the Jazz are missing, but also some of the trends back the Bulls as well. You know, obviously they're coming off a nice comeback win over the Kings here. Bulls as road favorites is a spot for them this season. Apparently, 7-1 straight up, 6-2 against the spread. That does include 4-0 straight up and 3-1 against the spread in non-conference games. The one that they didn't cover, they were actually on the second leg of back-to-back games, so they did have some tired legs there. They failed to cover by the hook, actually, so it's not like they lost by a significant margin. Or they failed to cover by a significant margin. They did actually win that game outright. In those 7 road favorite wins, they've actually won each by at least 6 points here. The line that we see right now actually is 3.5. I mean, I feel like I saw some 5s last night, but I do see a 3.5 here. On the Jazz side, they're going to be without Markkanen and Kessler. I know people are going to bring up, you know, the Jazz have been profitable from a spread perspective without Markkanen. I think they're 7-4 ATS without him. But they actually struggle on the offensive side of the ball without him. The reason why they were covering was because they played against non-playoff teams. They played against I think the Blazers twice. They played against the Grizzlies, the Pistons. They struggled against playoff contending teams without Laurie. They averaged 10 points per game less without him on the court as well. You know, I think the other game where they did, you know, cover against the Wizards, I was actually on the Wizards that day. The Wizards were actually up for the majority of the game. They had a chance to win that game outright as dogs with about like 4 or 5 minutes left, and then kind of Jordan Clarkson kind of just took over that game to close that out. You know, to me, I mean, that's more so the Wizards defense for you. The Bulls, I mean, they're not the best defensive team either, but they are better than the Wizards here. You know, the Jazz here as home dogs, usually a really good spot for them, 11-6 ATS on the season, but they have struggled in the last 4 instances, failed to cover 3 of their last 4. To me, it really has to do with not having Laurie on the court. Kessler's out as well. You know, I think from what I've seen, the turnover rate goes up, and their shooting percentages across the board, field goal, 3-point, all that stuff goes down without Laurie. They also typically struggle against these slower paced teams. 1-6 straight up with an average full game margin of -9.6 when the total is below 225. These lower paced, low total expected games. So right now, the way that I would look would be the Bulls minus the 3.5.
So I lean Chicago as well, and I talk myself out of the play for this reason. And I want to hear you. The Bulls are not a team that's going to outscore their opponents when they face a high octane offense. That, in my mind, is Chicago's. It's a matchup weakness for them. And if anyone for Utah goes nuts, like Clarkson did last game. I mean, you talked about Chicago's positive momentum rallying from behind. Well, so did Utah last time. Positive momentum rallying behind. They've now covered back-to-back. And that team can put the biscuit in the basket. And that's something the Bulls have had a hard time doing. Does that worry you at all, Chicago, against a team that can score points in bunches?
Yeah, I think it would be if Laurie was in the court, right? I think that, like I said, their offense is significantly better with him on the court. They average 10 points less per game when he's not in the lineup, but he's not going to be there today. I get I see what happened against the Wizards the other day. Like I said, I think it's more so on the Wizards defense than the Jazz's offense there. I think they really just failed to cover, failed to take advantage. The Wizards did offensively, right? They missed a bunch of layups. They missed their 3-point attempts towards the end of the game. I think they only scored 2 points in the last 5 minutes of that game. So really, I don't know if it was more the Jazz offense really taking over than the Wizards really struggling on that side. And I don't expect that from the Bulls here. I think, like I said, the situation of them being road favorites has been profitable for them. Also, the total, I think the total being under 225 here. Like I said, the Jazz struggle against slower paced teams. And the books, to me, with this lower total of a Jazz game, is saying that the Bulls might be the team that really controls the pace here. I think they're bottom 2, bottom 3 in pace on the season. So, I guess what you can say is whoever controls the pace of this game should have the advantage. But from the looks of it, from where the total is going, the market is expecting the Bulls to control the pace here.
Ronald Cabang joining us. Ronald, before I ask you what to promote, I have a suggestion on your baseball caps.
Yeah.
I mean, look, they're soft brim. They're kind of loosely fitting. And I'm looking at you and I'm thinking there are very few people that can pull off that British flat cap thing. Do you know the like tweed flat caps?
Yeah.
That's what you should be wearing, bro. Those nice tweed. You know what cap? I don't know the name of it.
Yeah, it's like those Kango hats. I know what you're talking about. I actually have one.
Yeah.
I wore one to a wedding recently.
Well, there you go. So that way you don't look like you're wearing a hat that doesn't fit, that's like old and dreary looking. Like, you go get those nice tweed wool, beautiful hats that I look idiotic in. And it'll be like your signature, bro. It'll be your signature hat.
I got you. Maybe the next time I come on here.
Okay, what do you got to promote?
I got a couple NBA games. I think I might add 2 more here. Like I said, I was number 1 in NBA profit post All-Star break until yesterday's kind of down day. So hoping to bounce back today. I don't have the package up available yet, but that should be available by around noon. I just want to make sure some of these injury statuses in NBA have been kind of they've been terrible lately. So I really want to kind of wait until I get some clear statuses.
Yeah. Guys, if you know the name of that hat, let me know. I'm curious. Ronald, people are asking what baseball cards are behind you. I know you are a collector.
Yeah. I got some Ohtani's, a nice Ohtani here, the gold. I got some I like Bowman, but my favorite card here, or my collection, I really like Kevin Durant in Sonics jerseys, because just come from Seattle. So I got like this nice auto here of Kevin Durant in his rookie year. To me, I used to like flip cards and stuff, but now I really focus in on the guys that I really like, Ohtani, KD, the LeBrons and stuff like that. So that's what I have back there.
Excellent stuff. Thank you for joining us, Ronald Cabang. Guys, it is time for Teddy's big game breakdown, and then I've got a movie review for you all, plus Carmine Bianco still to come. Teddy, the mic is yours.
Big game breakdown Wednesday night marquee matchup. The Milwaukee Bucks, the Golden State Warriors, national TV affair. Looking at the WagerTalk live odds screen right now, I'm seeing the Warriors -4. let's call the total 227. There is some variance there. You can find 227.5 if you want to bet under. You can find 226.5 if you want to play over. Worth noting, the total in this game, 14 points lower than when these two teams met in the first meeting between these two teams. And Steph Curry didn't play in that game. Milwaukee won 129-118. Game flew over the total despite no Curry, and there was no Green for Golden State in that game either. And when we look at recent history, certainly this number's low for Golden State, real low from a total standpoint. They only had 4 totals lower than this since Thanksgiving. So it's been a while for a total this low for the Warriors. All that being said, all right, Golden State's going to get a couple guys back. Wiggins supposed to be back tonight after he's missed the last 4 games. Podziemski's supposed to be back tonight after he missed a couple of games on their last road trip. So those should be close to full strength. Milwaukee, not so much. Doesn't look like Giannis. We don't know yet if Giannis is going to play. The number right now says the markets don't expect him to be in the lineup. He's been bothered by left Achilles soreness in recent weeks. We talk about the recent trends. Look, we all know it. The Bucks are 6-0 to the under last 6, 14-1-1 to the under in the last 16. That being said, they scored 111 plus in every game since the All-Star break. It's their opponents who are having trouble scoring. That's Milwaukee defense. The Warriors are 7-0 to the under their last 7. They only scored 88 against the Celtics. This is the first game since. And let's not forget what the real problem was in that game. It was an embarrassing defensive showing. They're back at full strength or close to full strength tonight. And it's also worth noting Golden State number 6 in the NBA in pace since the All-Star break, and they still haven't cashed a single over during that span. We've seen some over money this morning. It ain't my money. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. These are one of these type of streaks. You want to ride them till they die. If I'm playing, it's Warriors, Bucks under the total. I'm not convinced the betting markets have fully caught up. By the way, I never promo. Let me promo. Promo code Teddy25 will get you 25% off any all-access pass. You can use my all-access pass or anybody else on the website, Teddy25 at checkout. An excellent promo to take advantage of today on Wednesday. Lawrence?
Teddy covers. I took a look. The original name of that hat is a Tammy. It is a Scottish hat. And other people call it a flat cap, a baker boy, or a newsboy cap. So there we go. I look idiotic in those caps. I've always wanted a cowboy hat, though. Every time I go to Memphis or Montana or one of these places, and I'm in a store, there's a million. I'm in there for an hour trying them on one after another. They just look so stupid on me. Like, I'm not a cap guy. Anyway, movie review quick, everybody. I watched a movie last night, one that I've been delaying for a long while, and I actually loved it. It was called The Bank of Dave, or just Bank of Dave. It's on Netflix. It's a true story about a gentleman in faraway Burnby or something, Brumley, in the UK, and he starts a bank, and it is spectacular. I absolutely loved that movie. Bank of Dave Sharapan. That's what it's called, right, Teddy? Bank of Dave Sharapan?
I'll take the under. Bank of Carmine.
Bank of Carmine. Carmine could pull off one of those hats. How are you, Carm?
I have one of those hats. I call it the newsboy cap. But the first one you talked about, the Scottish or Irish one, had the little ball on the top. It's not really the same one. But
can you go get it quick?
Where is it? No, I can't go get it. It's the other. No, I'm not going to get it. So we have 2 hockey games to talk about. I'll wear it on puck time. How's that?
Before we get into that hockey game, George Wood just purchased my package. That did not sound right at all, but you know what I'm saying. George, I told you, nobody buy my plays today. I'm going 5-0 quietly. Okay, Carm, you're coming off a 4-0 night. Your NHL is on fire. You won your 5% play on the New York Islanders. They were down 2-0 at one point, and you probably were losing your shit. And then they pulled it out for you, my friend. A nice 5-3 W. Tonight, we've got 3 games on tap: Buffalo and Toronto, Ottawa and Anaheim, and then the Detroit-Colorado game. You want to talk to us about this Buffalo and Toronto game. You like over the total of 6.5. Tell us why, and Teddy will set up your next game.
Yeah, I was actually thinking of going downtown to watch this game tonight. I still may do it. Listen, the Leafs have been playing some really good hockey of late. They're scoring goals, and I get it. They lose 4-1 to Boston a couple nights ago, but it's a game in which the final XG numbers for the Leafs were well above that number. They were close to 4 in XG numbers. They just couldn't score. They ran into a good Swayman, and Boston did a very good job of shutting down the neutral ice. Now they're going to get a team who doesn't shut down the neutral ice, or haven't of late, in the Buffalo Sabres. And the Sabres get up for the Leafs. The Sabres and Montreal, and I talked about it earlier, are teams that when they play Toronto, it's like their Stanley Cup. They relish trying to beat the Leafs while not making the playoffs. And it's their little Stanley Cup. These teams, their last 15 games, which includes one preseason game, the total's gone over in 13 of those 15 games. It is littered with goals. Both games have gone over, including a 9-2 win earlier this season by the Sabres. Luukkonen in goal for the Sabres tonight. He's confirmed. He's never beaten the Leafs. He's got a 7.48 goals against average against the Leafs in a couple of games. And Samsonov, a guy who at the beginning of the season was an automatic over bet, and then they sent him down to the minors. He didn't play. They gave him about 10 days to clear his mind. He came back, and then he played extremely well in goal, but he's reverted back to the Samsonov of old, 6-1-1 to the over his last 8 starts in goal. Leafs got Boston on deck tomorrow. They could be looking ahead to that one. This looks like a game in which we're going to see some goals tonight. The Sabres are coming to try and beat the Leafs and score some goals, and the Leafs are going to get theirs. As far as an outright winner, I'm not going to even touch it. The line is too high on the Leafs. I'm playing the over 6.5 here.
Let's talk some West Coast NHL action. Ottawa and Anaheim. Senators, minus 165, minus 170. We've even seen minus 175s out there as road favorites. Total 6.5. Juice to the over. Anaheim's never won a cup. Ottawa, their last cup, I just Googled it, is 1927.
Anaheim has won a cup.
No, they played for a cup. Did they?
Yeah, they won one.
They
during
won.
the Paul Kariya.
Sorry, in 2006,
Yeah,
2007.
Paul Kariya, Niedermeyer.
Anaheim's won one cup 20 years ago. Ottawa hasn't won one in 100 years. What do we do with these two nondescript franchises?
Yeah, and Teddy, and I got to throw it in there. And the Toronto Maple Leafs have not won since 1967, when there was only 6 teams in the league. But with that said,
and the Buffalo Sabres have never
Prez.
won ever, and they're your team. So stick it up your talkers.
Listen, I'm going to tell you guys this, kind of like what Prez just said a little while ago. This is a client play for me. So one of only 2 plays that I have on tonight's card. And I told my clients in the analysis that this line, and when I posted it this morning for you guys in our Slack, was minus 150 on Ottawa. And I talked about the fact that this line is going to go up. And it now is. It's 170, 175 in some places. And it's because we're at the trade deadline is on Friday, but there's trades being made. And Ottawa made one this morning. They traded about an hour ago Tarasenko to Florida, retained half his salary for a couple draft picks. So you look at it and you say, well, Ottawa traded away one of their players who's scored 17 goals, 24 assists, and the line is going up on them. It is because Anaheim is in the midst of making a deal with the Edmonton Oilers, and that deal could happen at some point this afternoon, and they could be shipping off 2 or 3 players. They're trying to make their deals in advance of Friday to try and get more value from what they're going to be giving out. They could have a short bench tonight, and I think players are going to be held out of the lineup tonight for Anaheim. And this is one of the reasons why you're seeing that line move upwards. It has nothing to do with these two teams because they're now making the playoffs. They're going to finish in the bottom two spots in their respective conferences. But Ottawa will get their goals tonight. Anaheim beat them 3 weeks ago in Ottawa by a 5-1 scoreline in a game in which Ottawa's XG numbers were close to 4. Again, ran into a hot goaltender, couldn't score some goals. Different story tonight. Ottawa gets the win tonight, and I would probably even take the team total of over 3.5 minus 125, which I gave out on Puck Time today.
Carmine Bianco. Carm, you got a promo code for us. You're absolutely rolling right now. Give it out, and then we'll say goodbye.
Yeah, you can use the coupon code CARM50, and that's going to get you $50 off a 30-day NHL all-access package, which is going to take you pretty much to the end of the season, probably a week prior to that end of the season. It's normally $179. You're going to get it for $129, which is essentially like 5 single-day packages, and you get 30 days out of it. So 30 days, CARM50 gets you $50 off that $179 price.
Carm, watch Bank of Dave. You'll like it a lot. I know it's a bit of a rom-com, but really, really excellent movie. Carmine Bianco, everyone. Thanks for joining us, my brother. We did get over 100 likes. It's time for your daily presidential address. Okay, guys, I got a couple of bets for you all in tonight's NHL card. Only 3 games. I've got a bet for you on the Detroit-Colorado game and the Ottawa-Anaheim game. Before we get into that, I had a shit night on Monday. I went 3-1 for my clients, 1-3. I had a shit night last night. I went 1-3. Still up double-digit units in college and NHL. But guys, don't bother with me tonight. I have 5 plays. I'm going 5-0. I want to do it quietly. I don't want the pressure. I don't want to freak out all night. Don't bother buying my plays. Just let me have a peaceful, relaxing night because I feel like it's going to be a big one. Okay, so Detroit and Colorado. How do we bet this game? We take over the total. Why not? Both these teams are big time scoring teams. Both these teams are over teams. Detroit 34-26 to the over. Colorado exactly the same record. This number is 6.5. I think we look, Colorado's put up 5 goals, 3 of their last 4 games. And one thing we know about the Red Wings, they can't seem to play defense, but this team can score. Take over the total. I also like Ottawa in regulation tonight. Anaheim's holding back players, guys. They're about to make some big trades. It's 2 days before the trade deadline. They're not going to want injuries. There might be trades that happen before the game even begins. This line is moving. A lot of money has come in on Ottawa. Although I don't like the team, I think they're the right bet tonight. Take Ottawa minus 110 in regulation. That's it for Wager Talk today. Teddy, I'm going to Nando's for peri peri chicken for lunch. I'm excited and I'm starving. Take us home.
Sure, that's going to wrap it for the Wednesday edition. We'll do it again tomorrow, same time, same channel, right here on WagerTalk TV. Between now and tomorrow's show, enjoy the games and best of luck with all your wagers.